believe it's 6 o'clock. I'll call this order of the December Henry County School Board meeting to order. And we'll ask Mrs. Oldby if she will check the roll at this time.
Evan Walker.
Here.
Dr. Duvall.
Here.
Ms. Flanagan.
Here.
Ms. Maddox.
Here.
Mr. Miller.
Here.
Dr. Stanbaugh.
Here.
And Mr. Zayas.
Here.
Thank you. So the first item of business tonight is approval of this evening's agenda. We have a motion so stated.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Those in favor of this motion signify by raising the right hand. Agenda is approved. I'll take this opportunity to welcome this great crowd tonight. Sorry we're cramped up here in this room rather than downstairs, but it's important to get going on down there. I believe we do appreciate you taking the time to be with us tonight. And we look forward to hearing from the young people here, and I hope that you will give us a good presentation. I'm sure you will. At this time, I'll ask Mr. Lyle if he will deliver tonight's invocation. Following that, Dr. Stanbaugh will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. May we all stand for that?
Kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we ask that you give blessings and guidance to this meeting, that you be with us as we make decisions so that they will be to the benefit of our children and our citizens. We ask that as these holiday seasons approach, you grant safety to all our students in their travels, and bless them with warm relations with all their families as they gather to celebrate the holiday season and enjoy time together. For those members of our community who are serving this country abroad, we ask that you give them your heavenly protection and Godspeed on their journeys home, successful missions for our great nation. Now we ask that you be with us in these decisions. Bless all this so that we will build your kingdom forever.
Amen.
Oh, no,
I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Now, this item on tonight's agenda, speakers from the floor. We have at this time one individual signed up, Mr. Carter. Carter, I'm sure you're familiar with the conditions of addressing the board. So the floor is yours.
Thank you. I'm Dorothy Carter in the Reed Creek District. Thank you folks for allowing me to speak tonight. I'm here, of course, representing the Henry County Education Association. In January, HCEA representatives will travel to Richmond to talk to our legislators about the 2015 Virginia Education Association legislative agenda. While we're there, we're going to ask for support for low-performing schools, advocate for education funding, speak to the comparison of education money versus the money spent for incarceration, ask for state funding for a 6% salary increase, oppose further erosion of the Virginia retirement system, request an optional 3-person panel in dismissal cases, ask to abolish the A through F rating of schools, request an amendment to the Child Protective Services timeline, ask that Virginia implement a statewide health insurance, ask for accountability for tuition tax credits, request that Virginia close the health insurance coverage gap and free up $14 billion in the next 8 years. And finally, ask for a transparent bipartisan redistricting process. And I've copied the VEA resolutions below, which you have, so that you can have additional reading on your part. The topics are many, yet they're vital to the academic and financial well-being of our schools. On June 12th, when Governor McAuliffe signed the budget, there was no salary increase for educators. Earlier versions in both the Senate and the House had the state share of an increase for part of the 2-year budget period, but the final version didn't have one. The adopted budget has no provision for expansion of Medicaid. Expanding Medicaid would save Virginia about $300 million over the next 2 years, freeing up funds for K-12 and other core services. These facts are of great concern when localities are now paying 56% of the education budget rather than the 45% assigned by the standards of quality. The budget does use the 14.5% VRS rate, which is in line with the schedule adopted by the General Assembly in 2012. This action improves the health of the retirement system and it adds over $80 million to state costs each year. The General Assembly approved schedule is set to fully fund the VRS rate by 2018 to 2020. November 18th and 19th, Virginia senators met for the annual Senate Finance Committee's meeting. They reported that the revenue may come in at about $150 million over projections, which is great, but there is still a $321.8 million deficit. And about that deficit, Senate Finance Committee Staff Director Betsy Daly said, there is little opportunity to make investments in key areas unless funded through spending reallocations or identification of other resources. She then offered the following as one of the adoptions for addressing the remaining cuts. Make targeted reductions to those programs that were not included in the reversions, namely K-12 public education and Medicaid. Some of the demographic information presented reveals challenges for our schools. Between 2004 and 2013, the number of economically disadvantaged students in our schools increased by 45.1%, and the number of limited English proficiency students increased by 68.5%. Robert Jones of the Virginia Education Association said it's amazing our graduation rate and our achievement scores have increased during those years. About a week ago, the VEA sent a resolution from the Virginia Association of School Superintendents and the Virginia School Board Association, both organizations of which I know you folks belong. Both groups are advocating for school boards to adopt the attached resolution, which I know you have a copy of that as well, on funding for public education. The VEA supports the resolutions, and as president of the Henry County Education Association, on behalf of our members, I would encourage Henry County School Board to pass these resolutions. While it may not have an immediate impact, it will affect Governor McAuliffe's first biennium budget. And for too long, Virginia schools have been asked to do more with less. We just can't do it any longer.
Thank you, Ms. Carter, and we appreciate you attaching those resolutions also. Don't you want to comment on that? I believe we're looking at addressing.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'm bringing that resolution to the board in the January meeting. Ask for your approval, so that's already on our schedule.
Thank you. We move to section 3 of the agenda, awards and recognitions, and the first item here is from the Appreciation Week. Ms. Hatchett.
Good evening. It is the tradition of the governor's office to delegate the first week in January as Principal Appreciation Week. We have not yet received that resolution from the governor's office, but we would like to continue with that tradition and encourage each of you to participate in that week. Our principals work diligently to maintain continuous academic progress in our schools, striving to encourage and facilitate the pursuit of excellence by both teachers and students in an effort to make positive differences in the lives of the members of our school community. The role of the principal as the instructional leader of the community and the school is critically important to ensure students are provided the opportunity to learn. Our principals work tirelessly to help students and teachers excel, and their leadership and hard work are essential to the success of our schools. We encourage each of you to visit your schools, to talk with the principals, see the exciting things that are happening in their buildings. Tokens of appreciation will be available for you following the January board meeting so that you might deliver those as you visit each of the schools that you are assigned to.
Thank you, Ms. Hatchett. I don't see it on the agenda here, but Superintendent Dr. Cotton was just recently recognized statewide, and I think this would be an appropriate time. Can you fill us in on that?
I would love to. Our superintendent earned the distinct honor of being the Region 6 BASC Week Innovator Award at the recent conference that we attended in Williamsburg. And it was our pleasure to support him there as he received his award. I think you saw some information about it in the newspaper. This is something that is not handed out lightly. It is an honor that the committee determines is appropriate based on someone's not just skills in one area, but innovation in education as a whole. His participation with the SOL Innovation Committee contributed to his nomination and awarding for that particular award, but also his work in leading us as we develop new curriculum and guide our students into some new areas of project-based learning and education that they have not yet seen. So we are very proud to support him in that. Thank you.
Let's put that in the agenda.
We have the next item, I think we'll move to the information agenda, and the first item is
Yes.
back to you.
As you know, during our daytime meetings, we are not able to have students at our meetings because they are in school. But we hope that tonight will begin a long tradition of evening meetings that feature a student showcase. And with us tonight, we have two student groups who will be sharing things with you that they have done in their classes, and they are very excited to share their projects. The first group that will be sharing with you is a group of students from Warrior Tech Academy, and their teachers are going to come and tell you a little bit about their project. They made some public service announcements that we hope to share with our local media, maybe to share with the community, but they are all about our area. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Rivero and to the instructors to introduce themselves and tell you a little bit about the project, and then we'll share some videos with you that the students created. Some of the students from each group are here tonight, so if you have questions or would like to provide them with some feedback or comments, as you know, that's part of the Warrior Tech curriculum. So we would love for you to do that.
Good evening. We are here from Warrior Tech Academy at Magna Vista, and we have five groups here this evening to present public service announcements to you all that they created in the classroom. The students worked collaboratively in a group of 4 to 5 people, and their public service announcements involved local and global environmental issues, and some groups even worked with local organizations to create these public service announcements.
Yeah, we did this project really to just hone in on our students' persuasive writing and communication skills. And you'll see a lot of different persuasive techniques throughout these pieces, and we're really proud of what they put together.
So, just like to thank you all for that opportunity, and I'm going to go ahead and step in the hall and make sure we have each group. So, thank you.
My name's Chantel, and I'm Vanessa.
We're unable to get the audio off the Venus.
work this afternoon, I promise.
Students, do you want to tell us about your project while we're waiting? You can come on up to the podium
They were a
here.
little nervous about that.
We know you're learning a lot about communicating, so why don't you just tell our board members a little bit about what you learned from the project?
We learned ways to stop pollution and how to prevent it.
What was the purpose of the project?
To learn ways to prevent pollution.
So you had to make a video?
Yeah.
What did you have to include?
We had certain things that we could just put in there. They didn't really tell us what we had to put in there, just what we wanted to put in there.
Yeah, and it had to be 30 minutes, 3 minutes. Yeah, 20 seconds.
Oh my God.
You had to do it in 20 seconds.
And we did ours on pollution.
So tell us specifically about your project. It's like water. Your project on water pollution?
No, it's not like that. It's like living around here.
Didn't it say 70% of the people pollute? 75%? That's shocking to me. What do you think about it?
Pretty bad.
That's pretty bad. Phew.
I hear sounds.
We're good now.
We're good. Okay. You're off the hook. We can Thank you.
PSA that you're about to watch. My name is Jimmy Davila.
I'm Pam.
I'm Josh.
I'm Sarah. And I'm Allison, and our public service announcement is about littering around Philpott Lake.
Philpott Lake is a year-round scenic wonder of Virginia.
Philpott Lake is home to a variety of plants and animals. The visitors of the lake often leave trash for park rangers to clean up. A lot of that trash can be eliminated through recycling.
For more information, please go to the following website.
Virginia is for lovers. Let's keep it clean.
I gotta say Jimmy there, right? Is the rest of your group here?
Josh is here.
want to come up, see if the board members have any questions for you. I'll put you in the hot seat too.
Sounds good. Who would like to take any questions?
So is this part of a specific class?
We have a co-taught class, environmental science, AT, and English. So we had a mix English with environmental science, so making it that.
Classroom instruction to use there.
Yeah.
Both science and English. Good. Is there any chance that these are going to be available or shown on one of the public, local public media outlets, TV or something? You're working on it. Good.
I hope that does happen because I do a lot of fishing at the Hot Lake and I want to stay.
Get more fish out there.
You guys, 9th grade, 10th grade?
10th grade.
10th grade, so this is your second year.
Yeah.
You enjoy the show?
I love it.
Or you take?
Yeah. Any more questions? Okay.
Other than thank you.
You're welcome.
This young lady is representing her group alone tonight, so I'm going to stand with her.
My name is Kira. I'm a Kinsey from Savannah.
I'm Cooper. This is our PSA video.
2.5 million plastic bottles are thrown away every year in the U.S. alone. Enough plastic is thrown away each year to circle the earth 4 times. 75% of waste is recyclable, but we only recycle 30% of that waste.
An estimated 14 billion pounds of trash, most of it being plastic, is dumped into our oceans. The garbage reaches different parts of the world, animals die, landscapes get dirtier, and the amount of suitable drinking water sources decrease by the hour.
Let's all join the movement to recycle. Thanks a lot.
Questions?
You're part of the same class the other
Yes.
students were in. Well, I'm happy to see youth, not only in our county, but all around, take a real active approach to littering and recycling. Some of us old guys like me forget we should be doing that.
What did you learn from this project?
I learned that it's good to recycle, because without recycling, we like destroying the world. 'Cause as you said, it's like enough plastic bottles to go around the earth.
You think that's something we could do more of in our community?
Yes, because if we put recycling bins, more people should just put them in there instead of throwing them on the ground or something.
Thank you for representing your group. Nice job.
My name is Desiree. My name is Tia. My name is Jamie.
My name is Cameron.
And my name is Logan. We decided to do our PSA topic on cigarette butts.
Hi, I'm Logan Tompkins.
I don't have any questions, but this one's a real pet peeve of mine. For some reason, people see cigarette butts different than a cup, and they throw them out a window. Or and I've actually even seen somebody take the ashtray of their car, which they had filled up with cigarette butts, open the door, and knock them out on the ground. So I'm glad you did this one.
Real production, you listed all the.
Catchy title too. Out of context, you might
Don't worry about that.
But tell us how you came up with. I saw you had the paper. And you were, that was an interesting.
I
idea.
had recently seen a video in one of my other classes, and they did a concept kind of like that, and I thought it was interesting, so we just put that in the video.
Very good.
Great job.
Thank you.
I'm Chelsea. I'm Emily.
I'm Nick.
And I'm Jason. 3 hours later.
I'm Nicholas Turner.
I'm Jason Myers.
I'm Emily Harper.
And basically our PSA was about how much water is used just about every day.
Water is a limited supply, so we thought we'd put emphasis on it.
It's a good topic, maybe PSA borrow that from you guys. Show it.
Hopefully.
PSA wants you to use more water.
My kids used to get after me for leaving the water running when I was brushing my teeth. So I tried to watch that for a long time.
Very good job.
Thank you.
Were you all as aware now, before you started, how much water was being wasted? Was this an element to you to do this?
I personally was. I was aware. I did practices such as cutting off the water and taking short to shower for ridiculous water, because I knew it was a limited supply and that it can't be replenished all the
Good job.
Thank you.
Thanks to the students and parents for being here. We appreciate you coming out and supporting your students in their endeavors to do these public service commercials.
It's probably safe to say this was the most difficult part of their project. Coming tonight before us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
See, now I believe Ms. Durham. Hillel Collinsville Middle School Leadership.
Yes, sir. Good evening, Dr. Duvall, members of the board. This school year, we've had the opportunity to pilot the leadership class at the FC. In this class, students have had the opportunity to develop effective communication skills, leadership skills, and positive public relations skills. It's a class that has proven to be successful, rigorous, and it's aligned to the goals and objectives of Henry County Schools as well as our 4 seats. So tonight we have with us Mrs. Catherine Ingram. She's the teacher for the leadership class at FC, and she's brought with her a few of her students, and they're going to share the great work that they've been doing this semester in their class as learners in her class. So please help me welcome Ms. Catherine Ingram and her students from her classroom.
to you about my leadership class. When I walked into the room, I was excited, but nervous, because Ms. Finger seemed strict, but nice. When she gave us our first assignment, I didn't know what to write or how to go about it. That first day, she said we had to use our brains, think through the assignment, and take a risk to complete it. We had lots of complainers, but Miss Ingram said this was not baby class. Boy, was she right. Since then, in my 6th grade leadership class, I have learned to be an effective leader, how to use Microsoft tools, to research, to work in a team, and to be a great public speaker. I even wrote an essay on tolerance that I had no idea I could write. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce Miss Catherine Ingram.
Hi. That's all right. You have When they approached me this summer about teaching the leadership class, of course I was excited about it, but I had to sit down and decide what, in my mind, I thought the class looked like. So then I immediately pulled up the vision of Henry County Public Schools to make sure that what I could see lined up with Henry County Public Schools, and it absolutely did. Then I went another step and looked at the state of Virginia's competencies, and there are 72 of them in leadership. That's a lot of competencies. So I thought, you know, I'm going to really have to think this through to make sure that I cover all of these. And then the brilliance of our administration brought in the 4 C's, which is critical thinking, collaboration, communication, and creativity. So I took those 4, the competencies from the state of Virginia, Henry County Public Schools vision, and wrote the curriculum like that. So what I actually did, and these girls are getting ready to share with you, I gave them the last assignment for the semester was to actually identify a problem and come up with a solution. These are 8th graders, 6th and 8th graders. They're 13. And it was amazing to me what they came up with. They could not just mask the symptoms of the problem, which is the easy thing to do. They had to identify. They had to dig and identify the actual problem and then find a way to solve it. What you have in front of you, actually, my leadership kids made you a pamphlet. Are you impressed? And they took the 4 C's, and they actually took those 72 competencies and aligned them underneath those 4 C's. And obviously, this is not 72, but you could take all 72 competencies and put those under the 4 C's, which in my opinion tells you how important the leadership class actually is. It's wonderful, and you'll see from my kids.
It is my pleasure to introduce Lainey Roberts and Addison Merritt from 8th grade leadership class.
In leadership, Ms. Ingram gave us the choice of a physical or a social problem. Me and Lainey chose physical because we felt that we could change school foods.
Due to federal guidelines that mandate 700-calorie school lunches, public school lunch lacks taste and its waste increased by 97%. Our desire was to cut down on waste and make lunch more attractive to the students.
What is now our lunch was called dinner in pre-industrial times. It was considered the main meal of the day. American school children in this period had 4 basic choices when it came to their meals. Homeschoolers ate with the family, boarding schools served formal meals in common dining rooms, urban schools sent children home for lunch, and in rural schools, they let children go home or pack a permitted lunch if they lived far away.
In the beginning of the 19th century, the cities and factories grew, and people began working farther from home. Factories specified these lunch periods. Some workers did not have enough time for both travel and meal. Cafeterias, which were a new industrial feeding line at the time, were installed in or near factories to provide hot and sometimes subsidized nutritious lunches. This benefit attracted employees and improved productivity. It also somewhat ensured workers returned to work on time. Modern public schools, modeled after factories, began exploring the similar feeding programs.
We would like to make a sandwich bar available to all students that has a variety of meats and vegetables.
Our alternatives were to have a salad bar and buffet that would resemble the ones that they have at Bassett, but this alternative would not work because the middle schoolers are not yet mature enough to just grab one item and go. The average budget for a week's school lunch is around $3,000. Although the bars would not be very cost effective, they would be a great resource for food. It would cost about $1,000, and the sandwich bar would be $1 per kid. We would not have to buy a new cart because we already have a climate-controlled one over at FC.
We would make flyers and banners and post them around the school. We would also send out messages to parents to inform them about the problem. We would also send out a survey to students so that they could see if they were excited or not, and that we could also tell from the data. Parents could contribute to this bar by coming and eating lunch with us. With the help of the parents, we could buy all the supplies needed for the bar.
So as you can see under the 4 C's, if I break it down, in critical thinking, I mean, these are 13-year-olds, and they had to solve a problem in our community or in our school. They had to identify it and come up with a solution. That's the best of the real world. The collaboration, they had to work in teams. Communication, obviously, they had to write it and then present it, which you see, they're wonderful. And then the creativity, I'm not sure that I know of a sandwich bar in any school anywhere, which is really, they actually have asked a couple of the classmates, and they're like, yeah, I'd pay $1 just, for a sandwich, and then we wouldn't have the increase in the waste in the cafeteria.
One of the 4 C's is creativity. Recently, to finish the semester, we had to create a personal vision statement by reflecting on who we used to be, who we are now, and who we want to be. Here's Kaylee Scott to share her vision statement. Change. I was a scared, confused little girl in the dark. I remember when my parents left me for drugs. I had heard my dad abuse my mom. I saw my life fall apart piece by piece at only age 5. I worried that my mom would get killed by drug dealers, overdose, or put our home in danger. I thought I was on my way for a foster home. But I won't change. I'm a broken girl with a strong heart. I believe that the world is a big battlefield. You just have to learn how to fight. I need a guardian angel, someone to change my childhood. I try so hard to build myself up, but I constantly get knocked down by depression. I feel alone, like I'm in a room full of mirrors, but I don't know who I see. I forgive my parents, and now I can change. I will stand up for who I am going to be in life. I choose not to let my past destroy me. I hope to one day be truly happy. I dream to inspire others to be strong. I predict I'll be a wonderful mom, the mom I never had. I know I'm being looked out for by God. I will change. My personal vision of myself when I'm older is that I will be everything I have dreamed of being. I will smile without once faking it. I will mother my children without once worrying of them having the life I was chosen to live. I will walk in a group of strangers and never be afraid to speak. I will be my dreaming. It is my pleasure to announce my fellow student and friend, Katija Jamison.
Change. I was an antisocial young girl who didn't know right from wrong. I remember when I lost a special loved one who I really looked up to. I heard that my best friend since second grade was moving. I saw my great-grandma at her funeral. I worried that I would never be good enough. I thought my life was headed for an undecided road, but I want to change. I am a confident 14-year-old who never lets people bring her down. I think I can conquer this big world ahead of me. I need to be successful in what I plan to do ahead. I try to always think positive. I feel happy when people say I will be successful. I forgive all the people who said I will never be anything. Now I can change. I will be a successful preschool teacher. I choose not to listen to the people who say I won't succeed. I dream to be the best preschool teacher I could possibly be. I hope to make a difference in young kids' lives. I predict that I will go to college and be successful. I know that I have a bright and clear future ahead of me. I see my life when I'm older as a very independent woman and a great preschool teacher. I see myself graduating from college and a mentor to the younger generation. I see myself being successful and proving all the people who said I'll never be anything wrong.
They were asked to reflect on the leadership class because it's a brand new class, just to let you know what they like, what they don't like, what would they change, and so each one of them, except one, I think, wrote just a tiny little snippet. So, Amanda?
My 6th grade leadership class is only 9 weeks. I would like it to be a semester because I have learned many need-to-know lessons to tackle the rest of the year's assignments and tackle other life obstacles. I have always struggled with anxiety, but in leadership class with Ms. Ingram, I have learned important social skills to help me in life. I love leadership, and it has taught me so much. If I could change one thing about the class, it would be making it a 2-semester class.
I think the class should stay, and I will be sad when our 18 weeks are over. Leadership is one of the best classes I have taken since my 2 years here at FC. Leadership has had such a huge impact on me.
Yeah. Great, aren't they? So to finish this up, I ask you if you know who William D. Middlebrook is. Anyone know? Well, if you can envision this, he's walking through his office and he drops all of his papers in the floor and he's frustrated trying to get them all up and back in order, and he had an aha moment, and the aha moment was he created the paperclip. Okay, so what I lay before you is if we want these kids to be innovative, we're going to have to allow them to be innovative. We're going to have to give them problems to solve, and I can do that in leadership class because I have the curriculum, I have the tools, and I have the kids, and they're amazing if you will let them. So thank you so much for letting us come. Do you have any questions for them or for me? Sorry, girls, not so fast. Do you have any questions for us?
I just have a comment that I think that it was a wonderful presentation.
Thank you. They worked hard. They did it. They did it.
Precious.
Thank you.
Very, very good. And we appreciate you for putting in the time and effort to make such a good class for these kids.
My pleasure.
We appreciate
My pleasure.
that.
Any questions?
Where are the males?
Huh?
Where are the males?
They didn't get finished with their projects. I had to get the one that was finished. This is the end of the semester. So I was like, somebody please finish. So
Thank you, girls.
Also, Kathy, it's nice to see a product of Henry County Public Schools.
And you're my principal.
Leading these young people in such a great class.
They're easy to lead. They're wonderful.
Coming back to work here at home.
Thank you. My pleasure.
I'm just going to tell you, we're looking at middle schoolers speaking like this
Yes.
in front of this group.
Yes.
Incredible.
Thank
we have
you.
adults that can't do that.
I think so too.
Congratulations. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Get those boys in gear.
Well, we have to finish the project.
Girls, get on them.
It worked beautifully.
Well, we appreciate again parents for coming in in support of your students, and be proud of them because they did a great job.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for all.
Mr. Chairman, we're going to start doing this. I think it's a great way to bring students in front of the board, and I want you to see, we can tell you about it, but I don't know about you, but seeing it is so powerful. We'll continue on our evening meetings. We'll invite them.
Okay, we move to item C in this section, proposed revisions to school board policies. A bit dry than what we have just seen, but still important.
Not quite as engaging, I'm sorry. It's a hard crowd to follow. The proposed policy revisions for the upcoming January meeting reflect efforts to bring policies into compliance with new or existing laws and regulations or have been revised for editorial reasons. The policies, as usual, can be found on board docs under the featured tab, Policies Under Consideration. Once again, there are a significant number of policies to review, so I'd like to provide a brief summary of the major changes. The following policies reflect the amendment or enactment of Virginia Code or federal regulations. Policy BBFA, School Board Members' Conflict of Interest, expands and clarifies the definition of gift and adds a section on gifts that are prohibited for school board members and employees. Policy BBF, Voting Method, addresses the handling of a tie vote by school board members when all members are not present at a school board meeting. JJAC, Student Athlete Concussions During Extracurricular Activities, adds a return to learn protocol to the policy, which provides a process for returning student athletes who have concussions to the classroom. Policy JHCH, School Meals and Snacks. This policy has been updated to reflect federal regulations. It now defines competitive foods, which are defined as all food and beverages other than meals reimbursed under programs authorized by the National School Lunch Act and the School Nutrition Act, available for sale to students on the school campus during the school day. That compliance with regulations now requires that, number one, competitive foods sold to students on the school campus during the school day meet the nutrition standards specified by state and federal law. And secondly, that the school board be responsible for maintaining records that document compliance with this policy, including the maintenance of receipts, nutrition labels, and/or product specifications for competitive food available for sale to students. Policy JO, student records, adds a section to assure that no one in the division transmits personally identifiable information from a student's record to a federal government agency except as required by federal law or regulation. Policy KF, distribution of information and materials, prohibits approval of materials that endorse the use of electronic cigarettes. I know you've heard a lot of that this year. It also adds a requirement that materials from nonprofit community organizations approved for distribution must include a statement that the materials and/or activities are not sponsored or endorsed by Henry County Public Schools. Policy KKA, service animals in public schools, clarifies how service animals should be identified within the public schools. Policy LC, charter schools, requires that 1/2 of any public charter schools in the division must be designed for at-risk students. LC-E, charter school application addendum. The application is being updated to reflect that charter school applications initiated by the school board are not required to receive Board of Education review and comment prior to action by the school board. And LC-R, charter schools regulation, is being deleted as it is no longer applicable. The following reflect changes that did not actually originate from changes to Virginia Code, but changes nonetheless. B, DDH-R, guidelines for public comment, is being revised for consistency with policy BDDC, agenda preparation and dissemination. And FFA, naming school facilities. The title of this policy has changed, and the policy has been revised to allow the school board to create a committee to make recommendations to the board on the naming of any school facility. The other policy revisions reflect editorial changes and or updates to legal references or cross-references, and as is usual, revisions have been verified for legality by the Virginia School Boards Association or by legal counsel, and they will be presented to the board for approval at the meeting on January 8th, 2015. Are there any questions?
Questions from the board? We all have access to the actual policies, so if people have a concern or question, familiarize yourself with the entire policy, address that concern or question, I guess, at the January meeting.
Certainly, if there are any questions before then, I'll be glad to answer.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Nichols. Item D, under this section, proposed school calendar for 2015-16. Ms. Hackett.
Tonight we have for you for first reading the draft calendar for the 2015-2016 school year. You will notice that the calendar visually appears slightly different than calendars of the past. We had some feedback from some community members that the color-coded calendar was a little difficult to read when printed out if you did not possess a color printer at home. So this time our calendar reflects different types of days by shape, so that if they are printed in black and white, they are differentiable so that you can see which days are which. Our calendar does align with the holiday breaks of Pennsylvania County schools. We did solicit information from other area school districts, but they were the respondents that we received prior to this board meeting. We have shared our draft calendar with other area districts who are in the process of constructing their own calendars as well. This particular calendar meets some of the goals expressed by our teacher advisory committee, our parent advisory committee, and those respondents who participated in a survey that was conducted by all Henry County Schools employees. We had approximately 260 responses to that particular survey. We have built in some additional teacher workday and professional development time, which was requested by our teachers. This calendar also includes early dismissal for students and workday afternoon time prior to major holiday breaks for teachers, which was a request made by our teacher group. The respondents in the parent group and in our survey group all said that they felt that the Wednesday before Thanksgiving break needed to remain a student-teacher holiday. So we determined that it was important to keep that as a holiday rather than making that a half-day school day like some of our area school districts do. So it will remain a full-day holiday for students and teachers. This calendar does also reflect the desire of many to end the first semester prior to winter break, which means they complete their testing, FOL testing and exams prior to winter break. You will see in examination of the calendar that that doesn't allow for a lot of flexibility in the first semester because our teachers very emphatically shared that they do not want to return to school in July if we can help it. So that means that building in professional development or teacher work days in the first semester is very difficult because we must accomplish 90 school days prior to winter break. So those are the goals that we met with this particular calendar. You will notice that there are noted potential inclement weather makeup days. It was the request of many of our survey respondents that we attempt to avoid spring break as makeup days if possible, with the understanding that, of course, we can't control Mother Nature. So we will eventually have to go to that if it's required as far as makeup days are concerned. Do you have any questions about the calendar at this time?
For the record, Dr. Cotton, the city school system has been notified. If they want any input on this, they need to let us know. Is that correct?
Sir, I have shared the draft calendar with Ms. Heath from Martinsville City, and she informed me they're still working on their calendar, and she appreciated that I shared our draft. And our draft does align with Pennsylvania County for the holidays. You know, we share the governor's school program. We have not seen anything yet from Martinsville or Danville on their proposed calendar, but I did make sure that we shared it with them.
And your philosophy is a lot of parents want to know what the calendar is going to be as far ahead of time as possible to plan family vacations. You hear from a lot of parents.
The earlier the better. We tend to like to do our calendar in December. With your approval, this will be approved in January, but we certainly don't want to go much beyond that because we like for our families to know so that they can plan. We do have parents who call starting in December, sometimes November, asking us as they make plans, and we want to be mindful of that so our parents can plan.
How do we go about notifying the other school districts of our plan to start work on the calendar? What do we do to try to get them together?
Well, some of that discussion happens at the governor's school meeting between the 4 school divisions that share that program. Now, even though we have a small number of students participating in that program, sometimes that serves as a catalyst for those discussions. We have not been successful in bringing everyone together to talk about calendars. Frankly, we're not all on the same timeline. Some school divisions tend to approve a calendar much later than we're comfortable with doing. So that's been a challenge. And the problem you run into is we don't want to be in a situation where we wait several months to get in alignment. So we make every effort that we can to get feedback. But really what's been happening lately is more us just sharing, here's where we are, here's our calendar. As an FYI, you know, and then we sometimes get feedback. The unfortunate thing is sometimes the feedback comes after we pass our calendar. So that's what causes challenges for us. We hope to get feedback now, but the biggest thing is aligning the holidays. That's where it comes into play.
We'd like if we would continue all effort to try to get their cooperation. And my concern there is that we play the same schools in sports. And I'm pretty sure it makes the calendar kind of hectic for those planning those events and things like that. If one's doing one thing, one's doing another, and we're not having the same calendar.
It does, and the big problem with that is spring break usually. But like we've said, our spring breaks align with Pennsylvania County. Danville tends to align theirs with Pennsylvania. Martinsville and Henry County over the last few years have aligned their spring breaks. But that's where the problem comes in. We had an issue one year, I think it was last year, where our spring breaks were off. But we feel confident that we'll at least have our holidays aligned. They won't be exact, because different school divisions have different priorities. In our case, we want more professional development time. We need to stop taking teachers out of classrooms. We really need to start creating more time for professional development, and because if you take them out of the classroom, you're creating a whole other problem. And we've had to do a little bit of that, more than I would like to have done, trying to get all the teachers on the same page, but we really need to start moving away from that, because they need to be in the classroom in front of their students. So we need to build in some time throughout the year where the students aren't in school to provide that professional.
Other comments or questions? Thank you. We'll move on at this time to item 5, consent agenda. Those are listed, same as normal, approval of last month's minutes, approval of bills for payment. Any question or comment or anything you would like to be brought out for separate discussion under the consent agenda?
Move we approve consent agenda.
Second.
Moved and seconded that the consent agenda be approved. Those in favor of this motion signify by raising your right hand. Carries. Section 6, the action agenda. These items will need a vote tonight. First item under that, approval of high school program of studies. Ms. Stern.
Good evening again. Last month, Mrs. Strayer presented to you all the 2015-16 high school program of studies for the first reading. Since the first reading, we have added the cover. I can get Alex to pull that up for me. As he's doing that, I'll just let you know that the artwork on the cover was designed by Ms. Hannah Wilcox, who was a student at Bassett High School. Tonight, this is the second reading, so therefore I'm here seeking approval for the Henry County Public School 2015-16 high school program of studies. Fiscal impact is estimated to be at around $3,000 and to be paid for out of purchase services. I recommend that the school board approve the high school program of studies for the 2015-2016 school year.
Assuming these made available to students.
As soon as you approve it, we're sending it to print.
So moved.
Have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion and second. Any further discussion? If not, those in favor of this motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion approved unanimously. Ms. Stern, you also have the middle school program of studies.
Yes, sir. Same comments about the middle school program of studies. It carries the same cover, designed by Ms. Hannah Wilcox. This is the second reading. The fiscal impact is estimated to be around $2,200 to be paid out of purchase services. I recommend that the school board approve the middle school program of studies for the 2015-16 school year.
So moved. Motion and a second.
And I love the artwork.
It's beautiful, yes.
Any additional comments, questions? If not, we have a motion and a second on the floor. Those in support of this motion signify by raising your right hand. Carries unanimously. Thank you, Ms. Stern. Item C, in this section, approval of revised internet safety plan is cultivated.
This year, there's been a lot of changes to the Universal E-rate program, and one of them is that to continue to participate in this federal program, the local school board must approve the updates to our internet safety plan. This plan currently aligns with our technology plan and meets all the guidelines from our Department of Education. The updates include new essential vocabulary words for all grade levels, new websites for students' research, and also we have to ensure that our filter appliances are CIPA or Children's Internet Protection Act compliant. So we're just asking you for approval of this plan, and we'll move forward with applying for E-rate.
Questions from Mrs. Copenhagen. Can you real briefly explain what the E-rates?
Universal E-rate services is a discount program that school divisions receive based on your free and reduced lunch. Last year we were about 83%, which meant if we applied for our internet services, we would pay for it up front but get reimbursed 83%. This year those guidelines have changed a lot. We're going to go down some, and things that counted last year are not going to count. So we're going to see a decrease this year. But it's going to bottom out because President Obama and SEC are making sure that all school divisions have broadband internet connectivity. So they're moving some of the funding over to broadband to ensure that all rural areas have internet connectivity. So we're applying for everything we possibly can. And it's that little bitty ending on your telephone bill that says Universal E-rate services, like $1.50 or $1.75, but that's what we all pay.
Maybe it's supposed to be. We only spend what we get.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay, is there a motion regarding this request?
Second.
Moved and seconded. Additional discussion. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries. Item D, approval of additional appropriations to the FY 2015 technology budget. Ms. Lawson.
Recently, we received $54,366 for the buyback of Generation iPads. The amount of revenue that we budgeted for the sale of school buses, supplies, and other equipment is exceeded by the amount of $49,646. The proceeds we're asking for additional appropriation will be used to advance our interactive whiteboard initiative by allowing to purchase new and replacement whiteboards for our schools and our teachers. It's recommended that the school board approve an additional appropriation in the amount of $49,646 and forward the request to the Board of Supervisors. And just to give you an idea, we had budgeted $25,000 in revenues from the sale of buses, supplies, and other equipment, so this far exceeded what we had budgeted for revenues for the year.
Questions, comments regarding these? If not, is there a motion to approve this request?
So moved.
Moved and seconded. Any additional discussion? Those in favor of this motion signify by raising your right hand.
Mr. Chairman, just to add to that, this is the item that a lot of the teachers are asking about. You know, they write a grant to get their smart boards, and we didn't have we didn't have the funding to move forward on purchasing those last year. So this is a good thing that now we can start replacing those bulbs and some of those boards. And the teachers, we have teachers that are waiting to receive these. So that's a good thing. So we appreciate it.
I had heard just within the last day or so, his daughter is a first-year teacher in the county. I asked him how things were going. He said, going great, but she wants a whiteboard.
Have they, like, when they do something like that, some kind of initiative, or some kind of thing comes out like these whiteboards, are they still as expensive as they were when they first?
No, the prices have come down, but actually, Mrs. Copenhagen can add to that. We're actually, we put out an RFP to take a look at other options. And have you already had that?
The RFP is out on the street. There's a lot of new things that have come out, like flat panels that don't have the projectors and the bulbs going out. So there's, we do have an RFP out, so we'll decide what interactive board and which way to go when that comes back in.
Yeah, we may be able to get more at a lower cost. So, but you also have to constantly be evolving with that, because there are all kinds of new. I saw one that you just stick on the chalkboard. It's got magnets on the back. You know, the installation takes 5 seconds, you know, as opposed to all the other things that we've been doing. So there's some good things out
Okay,
there.
we'll move to item E in this section, approval of contract for implementation of utility services for students. consultants.
It's a mouthful. Good evening. 2 years ago, the Virginia Department of Education informed school divisions that they would have to provide orientation mobility services for their blind and visually impaired students. And these services have to be provided by a qualified person to enable those children to systematically orient them to their community, to allow them safe movement within their environment, in their school, in their home, in their community. Previously, and in our current annual plan, we have approved for O&M services to be provided by AIS. However, we also found the need for autism consultant services this year to help provide coordinated curriculum and behavior supports in our autism program. Therefore, we did an RFP to try to combine a provider to provide both of those services. And we had 2 respondents, and AIS actually was selected to provide both of those services for us. The estimated cost is $25,000 for this year, and again, it had been approved through our annual plan for AIS to provide the O&M services, but now we'd like to add the autism consulting services as well, and it is 100% reimbursable through the grant.
Move we approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Is there any discussions or questions? Ms. Wales, not those in support of this request, signify by raising your right hand. Move to section 7, Cotton Superintendent Report.
We've got some good news to report. In the highlight report for this month, the first one is Read to Me. Appalachian Power Company employees shared when Charlie McButton lost power at APCO's. Read to students in our schools. Brian Brannick read to the students in 2nd grade at Campbell Court, and Brian Adams read to students at Sandville. Preschoolers help with lunch. Students in Mrs. Hairston's and Ms. Martin's preschool classes help the cafeteria by shucking corn for lunch the next day. Through this experience, the students learn how corn grows and the steps it takes to prepare corn for eating. Practice run. Axton Elementary's Girls on the Run and Stride Girls and Boys spent a recent Saturday morning completing the practice run on the Dick and Willie Trail. Martinsville Fire EMS personnel set up a water station near the turnaround point to give the students a realistic 5K experience as they prepare to run a 5K on December 13th. I understand why they should have invited you for that, too. Success story. G.W. Carver Elementary students recently met a distinguished alumni, 4-star Army General Dennis Vi, commander of the Army's Material Command, visited and spoke with the students. Vi, a graduate of G.W. Carver High School, shared stories with the students about how he walked the same halls and sat in some of the same classrooms that they do now. He emphasized to students that education is the key to becoming successful in life. He inspired students with the phrase, think it, believe it, and you can achieve it. STEM on Wheels. The STEM Mobile Learning Lab made a stop at Campbell Court Elementary recently. Every student in the 4th and 5th grade visited the lab and worked collaboratively to construct a solar-powered vehicle. It's hunting season. Preschoolers at Collinsville Primary went on a scavenger hunt to find all the letters in the word Thanksgiving during the month of November. They pretended to be quiet turkeys while searching the halls of the school for letters. I'm not sure there are quiet turkeys. All right. Culture Crawl. Drury Mason Elementary students recently participated in an art walk during which family members had the opportunity to purchase students' artwork to raise money for the school's art program. A capital experience. John Red 5th graders recently took an adventurous field trip to Richmond. Students were able to stand in the House chambers where they learned how the legislative branch of government works. They were able to see the White House of the Confederacy, home of Jefferson Davis, and listen to the retelling of how life was lived from a costumed Civil War soldier at Chimborazo Park. During a visit to Tredegar Iron Works, students participated in a hands-on demonstration of how to load and fire a cannon. Graphing motion. Mrs. Langford's and Mrs. Campbell's 4th grade classes at Mount Olivet Elementary are investigating motion. The teachers marked off 25 meters, and students from each class used their iPads as stopwatches to time every 5 meters as their classmates ran the length of 25 meters one at a time. All students collected data in their notebooks, then rounded the number to the nearest whole number for every 5 meters, and then created a graph based on collected data. Driving science. 5th grade students at Rich Acres recently participated in a driving science workshop in collaboration with Clemson University. Driving science integrates auto racing, science, math, critical thinking, and inquiry-based problem solving. Students work in teams to build a prototype of a car that must weigh between 120 and 180 grams and fit into a shoebox. After building the car, students tested and recorded data on speed and then, of course, made improvements. As a culminating activity, students compete to see which team had the fastest car. Containing enthusiasm for reading. Sanville Elementary Daily 5 students are better organized due to the generosity of Subway's district manager, Jesse McGrady, and his donation of kids' meals bags to hold their Choose a Good Fit book. Everyone's a winner. Stanleytown Elementary recently hosted a book swap as part of the PTO program for November. Everyone was encouraged to donate old books, new books, or outgrown books in exchange for choosing a new book to take home and enjoy. Some students didn't even wait until they arrived home. They immediately chose a place to sit and enjoy their book or magazine. Cookie creations. In Mrs. Lander's 7th grade class at FC, students were asked to participate in a lab that required them to demonstrate their knowledge of 3 of the 4 stages of lactosis. Students were paired and given 6 cookies and a cup of sprinkles. Students used tweezers to maneuver sprinkles into the cream filling of the cookies, arranging them in one of the 3 selected stages of mitosis. Once their models were completed, students documented what the sprinkles represented before showing off their creations. Exploring energy. 8th graders are racing into Mrs. Alvarez's physical science classroom at Lowell Park Middle School. While designing their own roller coasters, students investigated potential and kinetic energies, Newton's law of motion, centripetal acceleration, and force. It's been a while since I've taught this. Students used marbles to assess their roller coasters for best design. 21st century communication. Laurel Park Middle 6th grade science students have been using Google Docs to communicate with Senor Donat's students in Barcelona, Spain, in this collaborative project between doctoral candidate Professor Dooley and Mrs. Madison. Their students are also Skyping with their Spanish peers to discuss similarities and differences in the flora and fauna of each country's local regions. Laurel Park Middle bilingual students speak to the Spanish students and translate for the Laurel Park students during the Skyping sessions. Art Life. Rachel Patterson, an Art 3 student in Mrs. McAlexander's class at Bassett High School, recently used her love for horses and her creativity to construct a horse using clear packing tape, LED lights, and yarn. The horse is 6 foot from head to tail and measures 5 foot tall from hoof to shoulder. I will tell you, I went by that classroom and I saw this wonderful creation as well as many others. The best part was when they turned out the lights so that you could see it close. So it's really nice, and it's made out of packing tape. Trust me, I had to make sure. STEM Day at PHCC. Bassett High School took 40 students to STEM Day at Patrick Henry Community College on November 7th. Students had an opportunity to visit booths to learn about STEM-related careers and attended 3 STEM-related sessions on topics such as writing computer code and blood transfusions. Sharing their stories. Warrior Tech Academy sophomores Jimmy Davila Ortiz, who you met this evening, Holly Flippin, Jason Beers, who you also met this evening, and Shemaya Hodge shared their New Tech Network student experience with the Virginia School Boards Association at their annual convention in Williamsburg in November. Each student discussed the impact the Academy has had on him or her and their transformation that they have made while participating in Warrior Tech. And you see several of our board members were there for that presentation. Finally, congratulations are in order. The 2014 VISTI Leader of the Year is Mrs. Janet Copenhagen, Henry County Public Schools Director of Technology and Innovation. Janet has worked tirelessly to both network and upgrade networking in all facilities of our school division. Her leadership in implementing one-to-one mobile device initiatives for students in grades 3 through 8 has earned Henry County the privilege of hosting a plethora of visits from districts around the country seeking to emulate the successful integration of technology into the daily learning that exists in Henry County. A large part of each day is occupied by classroom visits as she works with students and staff to maximize the way they use technology for learning and student achievement. And as Janet always says, it's all about the students. So if we can give Janet a hand. That completes my highlights for this month. I do have a couple other items, Mr. Chairman, that I'll talk to the board about. One that I did have on the agenda that I'd like to ask for your consideration. The county, the government agencies, to include the county administration, they have been granted additional days over the holiday season, and there are 2 days in particular, the 26th of December, which is right after Christmas, and then the 2nd of January, which is after the New Year's Day. But what I'd like to respectfully request of the board is to consider giving us at least one of those days as an additional day for 12-month employees, and my recommendation would be December 26th, which is the Friday after Christmas. I know last year you all were kind enough to give us a day, an additional day for the 12-month employees, and it would be my request to give us one of those days this year as well, and I would recommend the 26th of December. So I'd like to offer that up for consideration for the board this time.
Okay, this would require action on the floor of the board. Is there discussion or a motion coming forward for this?
Mr. Chairman, I did talk to the county administrator's office several weeks ago, and they informed me, like Dr. Collins said, that they were giving their employees both days off. Christmas and New Year's fall on a Thursday this year, and it really doesn't make a lot of sense to heat the building or something for one day and then shut it down for the weekend. And I think it'd be less confusing to the public if we went along with the county administrator's holiday schedule. I'm in favor of giving the employees both Fridays off. It would be December 26th and January 1st. We also have not been able to give our employees the raises they deserve through means beyond our control, and I think it would be good for morale if we would give them both Fridays off. Mr. Chairman, I'll offer that as a motion.
Is there a second to that motion?
A second.
The motion's been made and seconded that both those days be indicated on our calendar as 12-month personnel holidays. Any other discussion? If not, those in support of this motion, signify by raising your right hand.
We appreciate that. Thank you for that. I also have another item that I want to talk to you about, and that is Mr. Milner actually brought this up. Carver Elementary, I'll say GW Carver Elementary. Mr. Milner did raise, if you want to add to this, certainly do so, but ask a question about the name of Carver Elementary. The GW has seemed to have lost its way over the years. I did a little bit of research. The sign, separate from the building, says GW Carver. The actual building says Carver, without the GW, standing for George Washington Carver. And of course, I have heard from a member of the community, as well as Mr. Milner, about the historical significance of the name of the school. And to be honest with you, I believe that that was the name of the school, George Washington Carver Elementary. I did some research and I found what appears to me to be, just maybe clerical or some kind of an error that we can correct. I looked back when the name of the school was changed from a middle school to an elementary. The request was to change it from Carver Middle School to Carver Elementary. The GW was not there. So what I would recommend that we do, I cannot submit a correction or a name change during the middle of a year. We've looked up that process. what I can do over the summer is I can submit G.W. Carver as the official name, just to make sure that everyone's clear on the name of the school. And with your approval on that, I would also like to estimate the cost and work on getting some estimates on putting the correct title of the school on the building, because that will be a part of that process as well. I truly think that it was just a matter of people calling it Carver for so long that it became, Carver minus the GW. But I fully support the GW being there, and I wanted to share that with the board and let you know my course of action to make sure that you are in support of that as we move forward, because there will be a small cost for the. I told Mr. Scott, I said, how hard is it to get a G and a W up there? But we are going to get some. Apparently, we have to start over. So we're going to, and we're actually going to look at the cost of spelling out George Washington Carver as well, because I do agree that school has historical significance, and that's the name of the school in my eyes. But we just need to tighten that up. Mr. Miller, do you want to add anything to that?
Only thing I'd like to add is no other school has lost its name in the change or remodel. So it's a precedent for it to change like that. And in addition to the name on the building, we also like to consider any stationery or whatever other material that's generated by the school that has the school's name on it. As that material is exhausted, don't throw away anything, but when you order new, just get it done right.
Yes, sir, and I've already checked with the principal on that, and there really isn't any stationery that she uses the Henry County stationery. And when I did talk to her, the timing was perfect because they were getting ready to order T-shirts. So I, made sure that they're moving forward with the GW or to hold that thought based on this conversation. But I really think it was an abbreviation that happened, but we're certainly going to make sure that the official name of the school, as long as it sounds like I'm getting the sense the board agrees that's the right course of action.
Mr. Chairman, I think a motion would be in order. I mean, Mr. Milner, we asked the superintendent to go through the process this summer of changing the name. I think a motion would be in order.
Well, I'll offer that motion.
I'll second.
I would like to make an amendment to that motion, if I could, please.
Right.
Can I do that, Mr. Chairman? And that is that Mr. Milner contact alumni of the school who would be willing to contribute towards this change and the community. That way they would have some ownership in it.
That would not be the cost of doing that would be contingent on getting donations.
No, that would be in addition to what it would cost. Yes.
I think that probably Jesus Madison, I know, was way back into the 60s, being a part of the school system in some form or the other. And I don't believe that there was ever a form of change made. So we can make a motion to encourage or to ask the superintendent to go through the process he's talked about, but for all practical purposes, we're not really changing it because it never was changed. For some reason or other, it got dropped. Right. But I think the motion is appropriate, though, to ensure that the original name of the building is maintained.
And the signs are, the correct letter and everything's taken care of.
Okay, so we do have a motion and a second, and then an amendment.
Can I get some clarity on the amendment? Are we asking the community to help pay for the signage, or are we asking for?
I understand what was said, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Alford, you simply saying that Mr. Milner might, at his convenience or desire, communicate to alumni that this is taking place, and if they want to contribute
towards the sun or anything else that you would like to do with the George Washington Park.
I just think that we should, as a school, really, handle the cost because it sounds like, in my mind, it's an area that maybe somewhere along the way we need to correct, but certainly.
Well, we certainly don't want to convey that it's only going to be done if people give donations to make the change, because obviously we're going to do it.
Can I ask for just further clarification? Are school names registered at the state level? And what is the official name of that school building at the state level currently?
Oh, every year we have to submit the names of the schools for accreditation purposes. And there's a yearly form that we send in. And in order for us to update that, it has to happen when that goes in. So that's where the correction, and really where it becomes important, not only do we have the name of the school, but the grades that are in that school, because that impacts accreditation. So that's a yearly process, correct? We do every summer. And so that would be the opportunity where we can make that change. The problem we have now is if we try to change it, then it looks like the only opportunity we can do that is if we're opening a new school in the middle of the year, and then they would be conditionally accredited. But that's not the case here, so that's why I recommend that we just tighten it up for the summer as a part of that normal process.
Okay, and so the only official name change that happens is what you just described, and somewhere along the way that the GW got dropped. So there's really nothing else that needs to happen. Now there's some physical plant things that have to happen, and that's where the cost is that correct?
It's the only real cost that I foresee is adding the George Washington to the building, the side of the building.
So we don't have to make an application to anyone at the state level for an official name change, right?
The thought, and I think what happened was when the school was remodeled, and we started the program of remodeling the schools at the Great Consolidation. That was the first school. And I kept looking for the remainder of the name, but then as time passed, I just forgot about it. And as been previously said, and considered your proposal, I don't think I would like to do that because it was a mistake made by us, not the public, not the alumni.
No, I wasn't confirmed.
Well, maybe then, Mr. Alford, you're willing to withdraw your addendum?
Yeah, there was no second, so it's automatic.
Okay. So the motion is to direct the superintendent to do the financial work and the paperwork to ensure that George Washington Carver High School is officially known as George Washington Carver High School. Elementary.
Yeah, we don't want to move those kids up there.
We want to go back.
That would take some official change on the state level, correct?
That'd be a problem. They take their writing test or
That would be a big issue. Okay, so we have that motion on the floor. Those in support of this motion, signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries.
Thank you for that, and I will make that happen. And I'll keep you updated as we work through that. The other items that I have in my reports are just updates for you. If you have any questions on individual items, I'll be glad to answer those. But other than that, that completes my report.
Any questions for any of the other items in that section? Now we'll move to Section 8, matters from the board. Are there matters from the board that come before superintendent and the remainder of the board at this time?
I have one small request that really doesn't include or entail any money, but during the week of Veterans Day, when General Vi visited, he gave out quite a few certificates thanking us for the work we were doing in sport. I think we should give him a certificate thanking him because unless you've been there, you don't realize what a sacrifice he made to come here. And if we just sent a letter of appreciation or certificate or something like that signed by the chairman and yourself, I think that would mean a lot to him, and it really wouldn't cost us anything.
Now, we can certainly do that, but just so that you know, I did send him a thank you letter from me that I mailed after his visit, because it was a powerful visit. Those of you who had a chance to see him in action and how well he interacted with students and inspired us, all of us. So I did send a letter of thanks, but if you would like to do something somewhat more important than me, like the board chair,
from the board,
or the board, will be
from
more
the board.
Ms. Hatchett could design something of that type, I think it would be very appropriate to forward that to Mr. Miller says.
We can do a certificate, and maybe we can do a letter from Dr. Duvall, and send that as well.
And don't forget his wife. I was really impressed with his wife. She talked to a lot of the students, and I am serious.
Well, I was proud of the students when I was at Law Park that day, and how attentive they were to him, and the good questions that they asked of him. So I was impressed.
They did post all the pictures online. I don't know if they gave you a chance to see some of those.
So, I think you just handle that as a directive, vote on
Yeah,
that.
we'll take care of that, and we'll catch you with the sign off on that letter.
Let me ask just a quick question from one of the presentations earlier. I know when the young ladies from FC indicated, particularly indicated that they found a program, hopefully that program is something we're going to continue to improve from the presentation.
We are looking at that. This was a kind of a pilot start at FC, and we're already talking about expanding the Lower Park as well. And this is the kind of thing that really, when we talk about innovation, we're trying new and exciting things, and you see how well our students are responding to that. So, but again, as I said, those are middle schools.
So since they mentioned 9 weeks, this would be during exploratory period?
Yeah. You want to add to that?
Yes, sir. It was. It's during the exploratory period, the exploratory class, open for 6th and 8th graders.
Well, so was it a one-time thing, or will it go on all
It's
year
going to continue.
with different groups?
Yes. 6th graders take it for 6 weeks because it's the exploratory rotation, and then the semester it switches for the 8th graders. They go by semester. That's why they were asking for it to be longer. Their time is up.
Ms. Durham's actually the one that came to me last summer. You remember, she was the principal at FC, and she wanted to try this, and we've been very pleased with how well it's going. So you have a little bit of ownership.
A little bit. I'm very pleased.
Well, I'm all for it, and I think that we should concentrate or put more effort in trying to get, I'm pretty sure there's males in there, even though none of them finished. But get more males to participate in it also.
Okay, we'll move on then to reminder of dates. I'm not going to review those. You see them all there. If you have intention to attend any of the conferences, please be sure that you notify Ms. Dougherty. Also, remember that our January meeting will be the 8th. I don't think we're going to meet on New Year's Day, and that's the first Thursday. So at this time, we will move on to section 10, work session. And this is an open session. Everyone's welcome to stay and listen to what's going on. This involves the upcoming budget for 2016.
Yes, sir. I don't have a lot to report, but I do have a brief presentation just to tell you where we are at this point in time. We have a lot of unanswered questions as we go through, but I wanted to tell you, just as a reminder, as I'll do as I go through the budget presentations, we have our budget priorities that you remember the board approved when I brought this up a couple meetings ago. Under Goal 1, high quality instruction, of course, we are looking at our instructional initiatives, aligning our funding to make sure that we're delivering that rigorous, relevant instructional program for all students. And we're also working to ensure we're providing an engaging learning environment that really promotes those skills our students need to be successful under high-quality professionals. We are focusing on maintaining competitive salaries and benefits to support our ability to recruit and retain high-quality staff. And we're also focusing on professional development, which is a part of our strategic plan. Goal 3, safe and orderly environment. As you know, we've invested quite a bit in ensuring a safe and orderly environment for our students. And we're also faced with critical operational and capital needs that we continue to address as we can. Goal 4, innovative and cutting-edge technology, which you know we talk a lot about as well, providing that infrastructure for our students to have access to those technology resources. And Goal 5, family and community engagement, that we're really ramping up. And hopefully you can notice with our communication efforts and our family summits and many of our family events that we've been developing. The calendar, just to tell you where we are in the process, we've already lived through a few of these things. The September 4th was the calendar. The other dates have already passed, bringing us to December 11th, which is today, which is our first budget work session. Where we are as far as next steps, we've been compiling information from schools and central office. What I want to do is something similar to what I did last year. Is we're getting the requests from the schools as well as the departments so that I can provide you some requests that we're hearing from those folks, and I'll be providing that to you as we compile those things. As far as the governor's budget goes, we have been spared so far by the cuts that happened to other entities, but we're really waiting for the governor's budget to see what those state funding levels might be. Generally, we get that right before the winter break, so that's a nice happy holiday type scenario. Right before we go on the holiday, we tend to get it that Friday. We hope to receive that next week, so we're not sure what that's going to look like yet. So until we receive that information, we won't have as much information as we need. What I like to do right now is provide the board, if you would like to share some input on some budgetary priorities or questions that you'd like us to consider as we're moving through the budget process. We can talk about some of those now. We'll have pretty much every meeting after today, we'll be talking about the budget, so there'll be other opportunities to bring those up as well. Like I said, there's not a lot to report today, but when we come back in January, I hope to share some of the priorities that we've received from the schools, as well as central office, and I want the board members' priorities to be included in that process. So I'd like to open up an opportunity, Mr. Chairman, if board members want to share some thoughts or concerns related to the budget at this time.
Mr. Chairman, I've been doing a lot of research on the bus drivers lately, and I have talked to Mr. Polcher and I have talked to Dr. Cotton. One of the things that almost everybody agrees on that I talked to is our substitute bus drivers' pay is woefully inadequate. And we all seen what happened in Roanoke County, and even the regular bus drivers are very much in favor of paying the substitute drivers more than I think we're paying them $45 a day. And they, in my opinion, their job is tougher than the regular driver because they're not used to the routes and the students and so forth. So I just wanted to put a plug in with that. Like I said, I think you agree with that, don't you, Dr. Cotton?
We've actually been looking at that. There's not technically an increased cost to do that, but you do have a decrease in your savings that you incur. But that's certainly something that we're already talking about. We're having trouble recruiting substitute bus drivers, and part of that process is if we look at increasing that rate, we might be more likely, because a lot of times the substitute drivers end up being your regular drivers eventually. So that's a recruiting tool that we're already talking about. So we can, that's already part of our discussions now. So we would certainly take a look at what that impact might be.
Evidently, it's critical because there's a retired truck driver that lives on my street. And he was talking to me about taking the class and signing up. And a week later, I see a bus parked in front of his house. So he just started subbing, and already he's subbing. So evidently, there's a problem out there.
You think that was too quick?
No, it just shows that there's a shortage of people. Because normally, if you just start, you start at the bottom. You don't get a start subbing next week.
Yeah, I don't know the story on that one. But,
Another bus driver related, there are some bus drivers that are grandfathered. I don't know when this happened. I talked to Mr. Milner about it. This was before your time, and you've been on the school board a long time, Mr. Milner. But about 20 bus drivers are grandfathered, and they have their health insurance and sick leave and stuff like that. And the other bus drivers get one personal leave day a year is what they get. And I would ask Dr. Cotton and staff to find out what it would cost to add one, or what it would cost for one sick day. And you might want to add a couple sick days to the bus drivers that are not grandfathered. So if you can get that information to us down the road a couple months, I'd appreciate it.
The grandfather number, I think, started out around 25, and I think it's probably down to around 12 now due to retirement.
Right.
That was years ago.
And this was before your time. You've been on the board like 12 years.
Before I got on the board.
I thought it was more recent than that.
we can certainly look at costs. The only thing that I would mention is, that we talked about before, there are other employees who are part-time who do not get sick days. So
you might want to make a list of them, because I'm sure I'm not aware of all of them.
So my only caution there would be, we would want to look at what other employee groups are in that boat, because certainly if one group were to get something like that, we want to just be cognizant of other groups.
I think we looked at that next.
One consideration, and I think it's been mentioned a number of times, is that the study last year showed that there were flaws in our pay scales. And there's nothing I would like better than for everybody to get a raise, because my wife is one of those. I'm supposed to say otherwise. But I think we need to correct the pay scale first.
Correcting the pay scale might result in some raises.
Right. And we're gonna get some discussion on that. But we can't let it continue on. We need to correct the pay scale.
When you say correct, you mean increase, or are you talking more about equity issues?
Equity issues.
And you know that we did get several recommendations from that VAST study, and as far as the teachers go, I believe the recommendation, Christy Landing, correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Phillips here too. I believe it was 1% increase across the board, and then a 2% for years 16 and above, you recall?
It was 1% across the board, but I'm not sure that it was a flat percentage for years 16 and above, because it was to level out those inequities.
Because they said that we're doing pretty good at the beginning of the scale, where we are below market or toward the latter, the higher levels on the scale. And also there were certain positions that they pointed out that there were some issues. Bus mechanic was one that comes to mind. Technology positions come to mind. So part of what we've been doing is we've been going through that study, and we're prioritizing our recommendations. The challenge we're facing is it's very expensive. So what we've been trying to do is come up with a multi-year approach, and we've been meeting every other week trying to finalize those recommendations. So that's going to be a part of our budget conversation. Whether we can fund it will remain to be seen, but the challenge for us is, we have to do something, and we have to have a plan. Remember, we talked about you can't do it all in 1 year, so you've got to have a multi-year plan to address that.
I think that people would be more understanding if they know we're working on the clock.
Other discussion or other comments?
We had discussed, I have two things. One of the things that we've discussed at a number of our meetings before is including a line item for capital improvements. We currently have relied on carryover funds, which we have to later request, or we have to request the Board of Supervisors for permission to use it for capital improvements on our facilities. And I personally would like to see us have a line item in our budget. Obviously, it would have some significant fiscal impact on the budget, but I think it would be important that we set aside a category for that. I don't think we should be having to rely on carryover funds for replacement and capital improvement of our facilities.
I would agree with you. In fact, Mr. Scott would agree with you, because in our strategic plan, one of their action steps is to identify a funding source for capital improvement. The nice thing about something like that is you have a set amount you know that you have every year. And our challenge has been, we don't know what we can do until we see what we have left.
Right, we end up creating a wish list and prioritizing a wish list and then waiting to see if we have money to fund any of it, which I don't think is really how we should be going about it.
We're also in a position where we're trying to save money so that we have carried forward to address those needs. So it's a challenge.
Well, traditionally, we haven't had that, and by not having it, I think we're almost sending a message, well, we know we can't get this, so let's come and put it in there. I agree. I think there should be a line item section in the budget.
I think it's important that we present what our needs are in our budget, and I think this is a significant need versus another. The second item was, we had talked briefly about stipends and looking at that structure, and you had said that would have some impact on the budget potentially. Do you have any information to present about that at this point?
Not in the way of cost yet, until I get a sense of where the board wants to go with that. Initially, what I've done is I've just tried to take a look at where we stand as far as our stipends go across the board with athletics and band. I think was the area that we talked about. And then we also looked at, just out of curiosity, what other divisions are doing in our region in the way of stipends and those kinds of things. So we've been collecting that kind of information just to see, and I've really received a mixed bag on that. I've seen some school divisions do less days for band directors and less stipends than we do, and some do stipends, no days. I mean, so I'm really finding that I was hoping to get some more answers by looking at some other models, and the answers aren't coming directly to me. So what would help me, if you want us to investigate more of that, is just give me a sense of where you want to go. It sounds like you want to increase the stipends.
I just want it to be equitable. I mean, if we have an activity, be it a football team or a baseball team or a tennis team or the band, I think that whatever the extracurricular is, there should be an equitable number of stipends. If you have one organization that has 130 students involved and another that has 20, it doesn't make sense for the one that has 20 students to have the same number of stipends available. There's also, it was brought to my attention that there's some inequity in terms of experience. And this is off the top of my head. A baseball coach, for example, can claim years of experience and have a higher conversion factor, I may not be using the right term, to determine what their stipend is, and yet we have band directors who have been told they can't count their years of experience in their conversion factor, which I'd like to know why not. Because we certainly could find ourselves in a situation where we have a brand new band director with 0 years of experience, and I would submit that the product for the students or the experience for the students would be not as valuable.
We have done some research on that to figure out why, just so all of you know, we do have a formula that we use for all the stipends, and for sports, for coaches, we do incorporate years of experience and several other things. You are correct, for band directors, the years of experience aren't included in that. And I've done some historical research on that to determine why. And the best answer that I've received, or the only answer that I've received, is it was looked at for a band director. There was a difference than a coach, because for a band director, it's their job. They're the band director, and it's not extracurricular. It's, I want to say, co-curricular. It's a part of their. You're the band director during the day. You're the band director for the marching band. So the way that was handled was there's a stipend provided, but also they're provided extra days to account for that time after school. And Mrs. Maddox, you might be able to speak to that because you're involved in
The coaches don't have. It's hard to equate the two, coaches and band or choral directors.
Well, but the stipend is the thing they have in common, and that's what I'm suggesting should be more equitable. I mean, if you actually start counting up hours and time spent, I would suspect that inequitable is even greater than I'm suggesting, but.
Well, and I think we've depended a lot on our booster organizations to pay these people who come in.
Well, right, and that's somewhat how this came to light as well, is that there are, there's only, I think, 2 stipends or whatever for each high school band, and yet they use clinicians as essentially assistant coaches, but the boosters pay them. They couldn't function without them at the current level, so it's either the school pays them a stipend, just like they do the 7 assistant coaches for football teams, or the boosters pick it up, and then the boosters also have to pay a significant proportion for new uniforms and trips and et cetera, et cetera. I'm asking the board to consider that we look at it and decide this. And again, I bring it up in budget because I do realize it has some budgetary impact, of course.
I appreciate you bringing that up now, because now's the time to start having that conversation. I can look at what the years that if you factored in the years of experience, the band director gets the maximum allotment for the number of students, but not the years of experience. I think it's the difference. So with the years of experience, that would be an increased cost. But the flip side of that is that band directors get days. As a general rule, they get, is it 20 days that they all get? Mr. Harris gets more than that because he's helping high school, but also he's assisting with some district-wide music initiatives. But again, we have to look at that. Now, as far as additional stipends, I don't know all the details of how much the clinicians get, but I can assure you it's more than we can afford, I'm sure.
Oh, right. But it's the number of stipends allotted to the activity. I think that's, we wouldn't change the scale for clinicians. I'm just not sure why an organization that has 130 students involved has less stipends than one with a fraction of that. That essentially, one's athletics, one's music. This is at both high schools.
We can look at some potential numbers with different scenarios. Is that something the board wants to learn more about in addition to these other items?
I mean, we did restore some of the cuts last year. I'm in favor of restoring the cuts to all the stipends, whether it be band, academics, or athletics, or whatever. We're still hiring way too many non-school personnel for coaches. As noted in the personnel report we're going to approve tonight. We've got to pay our coaches more money for stipends.
Okay, so I have capital improvement. I have a question about stipends, pay scales, and where we're going with that. Bus drivers, I've heard about the cost of sick days and potentially other groups that would fall into that category, as well as increasing the sub-pay for bus drivers. Is there anything else that you want me to be working with my staff on for you as we work through this process?
We've talked about all these stipends and additional pays and so forth. recommendation, the original part of your presentation addressed teachers, because I have heard teachers mentioned, other than what needed.
We did talk a little bit about the recommendation for teachers. If y'all remember with that VAST study, they gave us a proposed scale to look at as well. And that's why we're curious to see what the budget's going to look like, because we've been held harmless so far, but we're just not sure what we're going to get when the governor makes those adjustments.
Other questions, comments? Okay, then we will now entertain motion to go into closed session in accordance with state code, section 2.2-3711, print A, print 1, Code of Virginia, appointments and separations of school personnel and superintendent's contract. Same section, print A, continue, Code of Virginia, student matters, same section, print A, print 7, Virginia, legal matters. This time, we entertain motion from closed session. Second. Favor, signify by raising your hand.
I think one of the most difficult things in dealing with
This time I'll entertain a motion to return to regular session.
So moved.
Second.
Those in favor of this motion signify by raising your right hand. Unanimous. Ms. Overby, you will certify the closed session.
Whereas the school board of Henry County has convened a closed meeting on this date pursuant to an affirmative recorded vote and in accordance with the provisions of the Virginia Freedom of Information Act. And whereas section 2.2-3712.d of the Code of Virginia requires a certification by this school board that such closed meeting was conducted in conformity with Virginia law. Now therefore be it resolved that the school board of Henry County hereby certifies that to the best of each member's knowledge, only public business matters lawfully exempted from open meeting requirements by Virginia law were discussed, and only such public business matters as were identified in the motion by which the closed meeting was convened were heard, discussed, or considered. Reverend Alker?
Yes.
Dr. Duvall?
Yes.
Ms. Flanagan?
Yes.
Ms. Maddox?
Yes.
Mr. Milner?
Yes.
Dr. Stanbaugh?
Yes.
And Mr. Zay?
Yes.
Thank you.
We have several motions coming out of closed session. I believe Dr. Stanbaugh, you have the first motion.
I move in student case number 3, EXP-15, that the student be expelled from the Henry County schools for 365 days without access to alternative services.
Second.
Discussion. Moved and seconded. This motion be adopted. Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Ms. Flanagan, we have the next motion.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, I move in student case number 4, EXP-15, that the student be expelled from Henry County schools for 365 days without access to alternative services.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Not those in favor of this stated motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. Mr. Milner.
Offer motion that we approve the recommendation of the Special Placement Committee.
It's been moved and seconded on this motion. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Ms. Maddox, you have a motion.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the personnel report and the personnel addendum be approved as presented.
Second.
Moved and seconded that this motion be adopted. Any discussion? Those in favor signify by raising your right hand. Mr. Zayer, you have a motion. Dr. Stanbaugh.
I move that the Henry County School Board approve an employment contract dated December 11, 2014 between Henry County Public Schools and Jared A. Cotton. Said contract reappointing Jared A. Cotton as Superintendent of Henry County Public Schools for a term commencing on December 11, 2014 and expiring on June 30th of 2018. Said contract will supersede and revoke all prior contracts between the two parties.
Second.
Motion of second regarding this issue. Any discussion? Those in favor of this motion signify by raising your right hand. Motion carries unanimously. And one final motion we need regarding adjournment.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. It's up to you.
Vote.
Those in favor of this motion signify by raising your right hand.
You're a little late on calling the question, Mr. Miller. You out of order.